Hello YouTube, I am back, ready to talk about Precure. Well, it's about as ready as I can be. I wish I filmed this before I saw the new episode, because I'm just gonna get my thoughts on the new wonderful Precure episode out of the way first thing, and if I end up crying during this, I'm scrapping this whole video, because I cannot. I'm so upset. The new wonderful Precure episode is one of the saddest, if not the saddest Precure episode ever, and I am emotionally destroyed. So much fun things to discuss in this video, but I just gotta rip the band-aid off and get into the saddest bit of it all. The new wonderful Precure episode was an episode about loss. We see this older woman with her 18-year-old dog, and the dog doesn't make it through the episode. I just was not prepared for it at all. I thought I was gonna start my day with a fun Precure episode. No, I was in full-blown hysterics. That's what I was yesterday. I'm not really somebody who watches a lot of sad stuff, but I do think it is important to make that stuff, and including it in Precure, I think this was really important, especially for a season themed around pets. Oftentimes, losing a pet is the first way a child has to deal with grief. So in this pet Precure themed season, tackling grief as a topic, I think it's very important, and it was a great episode to put out there for kids. And I hope that this episode shows that loss is inevitable, but it's an important thing, and you just gotta be thankful for the time that you did have. And I think this episode did a perfect job going through what happens when you lose a pet. I've dealt with this loss myself. I've gotten through my grief with that, but I understand how it can have such an impact on people. We get the backstory of this older woman, and she originally didn't want to get another dog because she went through the grief before, but she was helping out at an animal shelter, one of those adoption day type things. This dog wouldn't socialize with anybody, but it went up to her, and love at first sight. You know how that goes. Oh, when those dogs find you and it's like, we were meant to be, we were meant to be. I've had those moments. But they spent 18 years together. This lady and that dog, what a love affair. There is nothing like a person and their pet. I mean, that's what we've seen this whole season, and we're getting an outside example of that. The girls were coming together to celebrate the 18th year anniversary of this dog coming home, getting adopted, whatever. Just seeing the dog get sick and start going downhill on this day that was supposed to be a celebration, it was like, oh my god, I can't dwell on that part too long. Okay, it was so sad. I was so sad. There, long story short, devastated. Emotionally, I was destroyed. The girls go off to fight, and the woman's left dealing with this alone, and they're fighting Tarame. So this woman's like, okay, I gotta get my dog to the vet. And she runs off to the vet, but the fight is blocking it. So Tarame sees this woman struggling with her pet and stops the fight. This was such an impactful villain moment, to see the villain recognizing what's happening here and being like, okay, this is enough. Win the fight. We can come back to this. And it just shows how the villains do care about the animals, and it really meant a lot. It was such a sweet moment, and the tears came out even harder. All throughout this episode, we see Komugi interacting with this dog and telling the lady what the dog says. It's really sweet. So the dog's like, got seconds left to live. Everybody's there because they were gonna do the party. They all stay there, and they're being supportive. That's lovely. And Komugi's telling her how much the dog loves her, how appreciative the dog is. And oh my god, oh, I can't. Oh my god, I was destroyed. And then Nico grants the dog one final wish. The dog's able to stand up and goes and hugs her. Oh my god, and then it was over. And oh, my heart. I can't. Like, I can't take it. I was devastated. It was beautiful, but it was devastating. I was destroyed. I was just first thing in the morning, and my whole day, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And like, oh, bittersweet, just devastating, beautifully done. A 10 out of 10 episode, but it's got to be like the saddest Precure episode ever. Though it might be recency bias, I don't know. It's definitely up there. Definitely. Maybe Heart Catch Precure beats it, but oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't watch the preview for the next week's episode, so I didn't know what was coming this week or if they even teased it like that. I just went in blind and surprise! You're gonna be emotionally destroyed today. But I will say, I don't think it was too much for kids to handle. I think this is a great thing to show kids, to let them know like what grief is and what loss is. It's rough. It's definitely rough. And personally, I would have liked to be a little more prepared going into it. But it's an important thing for everybody to know about because everybody experiences loss. I have so much respect for everybody involved in making this episode. This is something that needed to be included in a season about pets, I would say. And I'm glad that it was included. Okay, I made it through that episode. I didn't really cry at all, no tears at least. The video can continue. You got an episode recap already, so we're just gonna dive into characters. The thing that happened right after my last Precure check-in was we got Iroha and Satoru finally coupling up. I was very apprehensive for that to happen, but I was extremely impressed with how it played out, at the moment at least. I was completely sold on them as a couple. I feel like they found a good balance between not losing Iroha and her character as an individual and giving Satoru enough play in the game. And I was like, okay, I'm here for this ship. Let the flag sail. It has kind of taken up a lot of Iroha's time in more recent episodes. It's been fine, but I would like another Iroha-centered episode before we get into the end game of it all. I'm happy with how things are going with them, but I do think the romance hasn't been as exciting since they were focused on, and it's kind of been a little stale, even though I definitely was shipping it when they were in the focus. Iroha has still been a very solid character, but I think there are little things that they could do in this last stretch of episodes to really make sure that she's a solid character and a character that doesn't get lost in time as more seasons come along and this season fades into the background. I hope to see those things done, but honestly, I won't be shocked if in a few years, talking about Wonderful Precure briefly, Iroha isn't one of the first things that I bring up. But I will say, I did not think that Precure could pull off a guy-girl romance, and they did. So I was very impressed, and I was stunned, honestly. I really didn't think that I would become such a fan of that pairing, but I was won over. So props. Right after that romance kind of blossomed, we got what I had been begging for Komugi. And that is giving her some more personality or something. I believe what I said in my last video was I just didn't feel much of an emotional connection to Komugi. I couldn't understand her emotional state really. I felt like she was just kind of stuck in comedic relief character. The episode that really won me over on Komugi was the episode where she re-encountered her previous owner, and we got to see how she'd react to that, how Iroha would react to that, and we get more of her backstory and we get more of an understanding of where Komugi's coming from. This episode found a good balance between emotions and comedy, which is what I was really wanting for Komugi. we get to see some funness from Komugi, which I love, but we got to see some emotion from her too. She talks to the old man who was her previous owner in human form, and they have some touching exchanges. I definitely got teary-eyed watching this episode, I can tell you that much. It was really sweet, and of course you knew that Komugi wasn't gonna go back and live with the old man, but seeing how it all played out, it was really heartwarming, and I had hoped to see that guy again pop up in another episode. That would be nice. I don't know. Now, the real shock of that episode was when we got to Nico's human form at the end. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. She looks phenomenal. So props to you, Nico. Nico has been a very fun addition to the show. She hasn't done much of anything with prominence. She's just kind of been there to info dump, I would say. I'm still not quite sure why she got the human form. I was like, are we gonna get a late season cure? But we haven't. She's been involved in the power-ups too. I would like to see something happen with Nico. I feel like she's just this character sitting here. I suspect something will happen in the end game to make Nico make sense in the mix of things besides just info dumping. But she's played this all-powerful role very well. She's still got her idol-like personality that I think is pretty fun. She hasn't got enough focus to really be a standout of the season though. So it's fine, but I would like to see more from Nico. Okay, I just had to get that out of the way because I don't really have anything else to say on Nico. Back to Komugi. The episode after that is the Halloween episode, and Komugi dresses up as a wolf. Komugi got to interact with Gao, the main villain of the season, and it was very interesting. They seemed to bond, but then he snapped out of it, transformed her into a Gao gown for what was like 5 seconds, please. It was a little like wasted potential, whatever. Seeing how Komugi interacted with him was very cool, and it gave more stakes to it all of, wow, they have stuff in common, but they just don't have the same view. And I think it'll be very cool if in the end game Gao gets won over by the heroes and we're able to build on their connection that was established here. That was pretty much all for the Komugi focused episodes, but since those episodes had their time, I've appreciated Komugi a lot more as a character, and I think she's been better utilized in the series since then. Like an example of that would be in this last episode that I'm not talking about right now, but if you want to hear my thoughts, just rewind. The character I probably have the least to say about right now is Yuki. And she had one episode where she was in this play, and it was fun to see her in the school life, but she had her character arc a few episodes ago, and everything else has kind of just been building on what's already happened. I think she's still very fun, but you know what's going on with Yuki at this point. I don't need to sit here and dwell on it too much. That leaves the last cure of the bunch, Mayu, and I think she's been a pretty interesting character as of late. We had one episode where she transformed into a cat. Iroha also transformed into a dog. And it was interesting to see those dynamics flip a little bit and seeing Mayu explore life like Yuki. We had an episode where Mayu's father came back around, and this episode didn't really have much, but it was interesting to see more of Mayu's family dynamics and getting to see her have fun with her father as they shot for their calendar or whatever. The episode after that, we have Mayu, and it's focusing on her love of knitting. And I think that has been a bit lost in the shuffle of things this season. But yeah, Mayu loves knitting. She's very crafty. Hello, I love crafts. So I thought this was a great episode, as Mayu's character arc has really been her opening herself up to the world. And this episode, we see her sharing her love of knitting with the world, as the students want her to start up a knitting club. And it's nice to see that Mayu's really getting to embrace more of the world besides just staying in her room and playing with Yuki. And then that all led us to the newest episode. So I'm all caught up on all the cures. I will say Satoru has definitely stuck out a little bit, not being a cure, but I love the storyline of him translating the book. And I think that's been a fun way to utilize him. I am kind of curious to see what it would be like if he was a cure in the season, but I will stand by my point that I don't think this season could have taken any more cures. I think they are managing to make all four of the cures stand on their own, but it was a struggle. We can't forget that struggle. As much as I'm like, okay, now that we gotten past that, I'm like, okay, maybe Satoru could have been worked in here, but no. I said what I said. I'm standing by it. And I want to see the movie. It would be cool if in the finale we see Satoru and Daifuku become cures and assist in one fight. That would be fun. Get it in a series, bring it out of the movie. But I don't need to see it. I think what they're doing with Satoru as is pretty good. He's got a good romance. He's got Daifuku. He's still around supporting the cures, and you need somebody knowledgeable on the side of the cure. So having him be the research type, I think that's very cool. Mei Mei. Mei Mei is also there, and I think Mei Mei is a fantastic character. So funny. I loved seeing him and Mayu bond over crafting. I loved Mei Mei's struggle as Iroha and Satoru were figuring out their dating life, and he was just like, don't exclude me, whatever. And it was just so funny. Mei Mei is just constantly in struggle, I feel like. And it's like, come on, Mei Mei. We got to get it figured out for you. I love Mei Mei. I need more Mei Mei. Let's get another Mei Mei focused episode before it's all said and done. I'd love it. That just leaves the villains. There's Gao, and I already touched on him a bit with Komugi, but we also found out that Gao did previously connect with a human, so I need to know all the details immediately. Thank you. I said what I needed to say about Tarame already. Rewind. That leaves Zakuro, and I'm having conflicting feelings about her right now. I hate to see the villain girl just worshipping the ground that the villain guy walks on. It's always a bit pathetic for me, but I will say I think Zakuro has a lot more depth than most of these other character types have had before. It's just not my personal favorite choice. And I do think she is cool, and I think she's had some really interesting moments, but it's still just like, oh, why do we always gotta put the girls in this situation? It's whatever though. Like, I am enjoying her, and I'm curious to see her, and I bet she does get reformed. I feel like the season's leaning towards everybody getting reformed, and that's definitely the ending I'd like to see, predictable or not. They can throw a few twists to get there along the way, but that would be a good ending for the season. Honestly, I was so devastated by this newest episode. I didn't even watch the preview for the next episode. I had to turn it off when that peppy ending came on because I was bawling. So I can't speculate on what's coming next, but we're in December. We don't have that many more episodes left to go. I wonder if they're gonna do the classic, have the Christmas episode kick off the final drama. That's always gives me a good laugh, because you can never just have a simple Christmas episode in Precure. They always go off the rails. We'll see if the tradition holds strong. But yeah, I'm fully won over on all the cures at this point, and I have full faith that this season is going to end strongly. And if it doesn't, I'll come back and eat my words. We'll see. That's not the only Precure news I've got to discuss though. Maho Tsukai Precure, Mirai Days, we got the trailer, we got more information coming out. The season is coming up soon. I really enjoyed the trailer. The characters have been aged up a bit, and I think they look good. I believe they're in like 20. These girls, I believe they're just gonna hop right back into being cures. It's not gonna be some big dramatic thing. I hope they get new transformations. Mirai is a university student now. Yes, get your education. Claps for you. Rico is now a teacher in the magic world as a magic teacher. That's very exciting. Love that for her. And Hachan is watching over everybody. You better get back down to earth. I need you, Hachan. Cure Felice, my favorite cure of all time. Absolutely. Of course, Mofaroon is still around. One of the most iconic Precure mascots of all time. I cannot wait to see what Mofaroon's doing. And I cannot wait to see all the Mofaroon merch that is popping up. And I'm gonna get my hands on some, hopefully. Fingers crossed. The big discussion of the trailer is the new character, Hisui. She's just this little girl with greenish blue hair, and she reminds me of Cure Felice a little bit. My bet is they tie those two together and make them a bit of a duo to play off the Mirai Rico duo. And I'd be here for that, although we can't lose the Hachan Mafuron duo. I think that's an iconic duo too. But I'm curious to see how she's worked into the fold. Is she going to become a cure? I'd be open to them introducing a new cure in this show. I think that could be fun. And I bet she is a protagonist. I don't think she'll be an antagonist. I love the character design though. I think she's lovely. So that's about all I can say about her. Like, we got one trailer. I can't discuss it too much. I'm just really curious to see how this ends up playing out and how it differs from Otana Precure. I enjoyed Otana Precure for what it was, but I do think it was very flawed and it came from a very flawed origin. Well, Mahosukai Precure is generally a pretty good season. I don't think it has glaring flaws like Yes 5 had. So I think there's a lot of potential here. Maybe not as much excitement because they don't got the Slash Star girls assisting them and it's really just them. Although we'll see if some other cures appear in this. I'd be open to it. Either way, I am very excited for it and I'll definitely be discussing it. Duh. Last but certainly not least, we have the title for the next Precure season, and it is You and Idol Precure. I am excited. I'm not much of an Idol person, but this is a strong theme. I know it's a theme that a lot of Precure fans have been begging for years. I'm ready for it, and I hope the season has some killer songs in it. I can tell you that much. The title itself, You and Idol, it seems like they're gonna do another duo. That would be my guess. Or maybe it's on the connection between an idol and the fans. I don't know. I'm not gonna get too heavy into speculating off a name. The logo seems to really have a prominence for pink and blue, so I'm betting that's the main duo. There is some yellow in it. If we get another pink, blue, yellow, just like... There does seem to be purple too. I think I'd like if it was 3 cures, pink, blue, purple. That would be a great color palette. And then, I don't know, yellow and green mid-season. I don't know. As we get more news on that, I'll discuss it more. There's just not much for me to say off a title besides, hooray, idols! I'm excited. I could throw out some theories, I guess, but let's just play the waiting game. I've been on here long enough. So I will definitely be back for another Precure check-in. Either if we get some more You and Idol Precure news, or when we get some new Precure episodes airing, which is pretty soon. So you'll probably be hearing from me in 2025. Unless I do another fun Precure video, which I just might. So stay tuned until next time. Bye!